Hey y'all, I have a tripod that works, so I'm hands-free. Anyway, it's late, but I'm going to get back to gardening stuff. I'm going to move those seedlings that I planted on the 1st of January, and I'm going to uppot them. I had to wait until I got some soil. So Blessed shared a soil deal on her channel recently, and that's the deal I got to get some soil for a good price. I had to wait for that order to come for me to get my plants into some larger containers. So that's what I'm going to do tonight. So these are the seedlings that I planted on January the 1st. They have definitely overgrown. I should have moved them at the latest last week, but the soil I ordered wasn't delivered until Saturday. But yeah, I'm regretting it now because it definitely made it harder, this whole process harder, now that there's a pea in the back and it has grown up the shelving unit to that top shelf. So I did have to untangle it a little bit, but it wasn't a big deal. But the bigger issue was getting these out of the pot. So even though this is a brand new bag of soil, I'm still going to pour hot water on it to kill off any baby gnats or fruit flies, because sometimes that's where the bugs come from. So I'm going to do that to hopefully not have that as an issue, because I'm very much dreading having soil in my house right now. Anyway, it was very hot, so I did let it cool off for about 30 minutes. It was still warm, and I drained it off a little bit too, but it was a little damper than I wanted, so I squeezed it a little bit when I was putting the soil in the containers. But mostly it was a good consistency where I didn't have to worry about that. So I'm using this old dish tray which has some water stain, which is why I don't drink tap water. Anyway, I'm using it for these for now because I could fit 12 of them. Now I definitely prefer this larger size of a container because the plants could stay in them for a little bit longer before having to be up potted. And I did decide, again, I had decided this in the past, but now I reaffirmed my decision that I am not going to plant in those smaller containers. I prefer to at least this size, because then the plant can get bigger and I don't have to worry so much about the issues I'm gonna experience with these plants right now. Now part of the issue is this, inside this tray I use peat moss, and that gets really dry, and it had been 2 days since I watered because I had planned to do this yesterday, but I didn't get around to it until today. So these were very dry, and so I had a lot of issues with them crumbling and falling apart. And since this one did fall apart, this is cilantro, and there were 2 plants in there, I decided to go ahead and separate it. So if these live, if they survive this traumatic experience of being up potted, which was as stressful to them, I'm sure, as it was to me. But if they survive this, then I'll have 2 plants. I'm really not all that optimistic about these plants surviving this, but I've seen them survive worse because, plants want to live. So hopefully they'll all make it. We'll see though. So when I'm putting them in the containers, I'm just pressing the soil down around them to make sure there aren't any air pockets, and also to try to make them a little sturdier. Although they were in that location for so long, I think, and also because the larger plants were obstructing the light, a lot of them got a little leggy. So that made their stems a little weak, a little long or tall and weak. So a lot of them were drooped over. And that's another reason why I'm not sure if they're going to make it or not. And if not, that's fine. I'm going to be dropping more seeds this weekend. But if all goes well with these, I have 2 cilantro plants for this year already. So that's awesome. I decided to go ahead and take the spring pea out because I didn't want to keep moving the tray around and potentially damage the plant. A lot of them had the roots coming out the bottom, so yes, I definitely needed to have done this a while ago, but waiting for that soil kind of held me up. I didn't have a problem with all of them taking them out, but most of them I think I did, including this one. Where you can see, I think that round thing is the pea, the seed. And so I'm just trying to get it covered up as much as it was in the other container. And again, make sure there aren't any air pockets, so press down a little bit, and hopefully that soil will keep it sturdier. And I do think if I would have used this potting mix in the smaller seed tray, they would have stayed together better because they wouldn't have dried out as fast. The peat moss was drying out. Basically, I had to water every single day, or a little bit of water. It's the red Malabar spinach. Had a few little roots coming out, and I did not realize there were 2 plants in here. And that was another issue with this tray. There are multiple plants, including the larger plants, in each cell, well, a few of the cells. So that one did stay together a little better, but there were 2 plants, and one of them is substantially smaller, so I decided to go ahead and cut that one out. Now these scissors came with some kind of planting stuff, but I didn't realize they don't have blades, so they didn't cut well, so I wound up having to just pinch this off. I'm definitely trying to keep better track of the labels. Oh, these plants are a lot more identifiable. They're at a stage where you can more easily identify them, most of them. But I still want to maintain labels to keep better track. All right, so this next one is the habanada pepper. And this is like a heatless habanera pepper. So a heatless habanera pepper, that's basically what it is. So it has the flavor of a habanera, but not the heat. I love the heat I love hot and spicy stuff, but I also just enjoy peppers, so I definitely want to try this. And I love sweet peppers too, so I don't have to have hot peppers. Now that plant was doing pretty well. Wasn't leggy or anything, and it was upright, so hopefully it'll make it, because that seed packet didn't come with very many seeds. I'm thinking either 10 or 25. I'm just trying to look for what's the easiest to get out next. And here are the shishito peppers, which I've heard a lot of good things about. And there are actually 2 plants in here. And they did get a little leggy because they were being obstructed by the larger leaves from the other plants. And this is another one that it didn't crumble, so it stayed intact, but I did want both plants, but I didn't want to risk breaking up the root ball because they kind of wound around each other. I mean, I didn't think it would be easy to separate them, so I'm just going to wait a while and see which one does the best, and I'll cut one of them out eventually. Though I have grown peppers right next to each other and they did fine, so the hope is that they both make it. That's just some of the stuff I was finding in the soil, rocks, and of course a lot of wood chips. So I have no idea why I decided to plant cucumbers so early, because I know they grow so fast. The same thing with the pea. I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know. I was just maybe excited to get them. So I realized this cucumber cell, this one had two plants in it. And I was going to immediately cut one out, but I wasn't sure if it was going to come out all together. And it did. So I decided I would just keep the larger one. But if it would have broken up like some of the other ones, I would have tried to keep both. Another large chunk of stuff. So it wasn't much smaller than the bigger one. Not as drastic a difference as the spinach, but I decided to keep the bigger one. And that was some kind of seed. I don't know what that was. Maybe I put 3 seeds in that cell. I will try to stick to 1 seed, especially with I don't know. I keep going back and forth. If I do use those silicone trays, this tray, if I keep using these, I will definitely make sure there's only 1 seed in each cell and make sure I take them out before they get too big. I decided to go ahead and take the other cucumber, and it came out pretty well. It was definitely ready to be up potted. Hopefully I didn't wait too long, because those roots were kind of wrapping around. And I'll take off these leaves, these yellow leaves, later. I decided to go ahead and remove this parsley. I probably should have let it stay in there because they were so tiny, and then the thing crumbled in my hands. So there are 3 plants in there, and I'm gonna try to save them all. I just stuck them in there as best I could, and if they make it, that will be awesome. If not, then I'm gonna be dropping more seeds, so I'll just try again. And the last in here is basil, and there were 2 plants in there as well, including one that got leggy, and I think that was primarily because the light was being obstructed by the leaves from the cucumbers. And it did crumble, so I decided to keep both plants. Now the smaller plant was actually doing, it wasn't as limp as the larger one, so I definitely wanted to keep the smaller plant. I definitely wanted to keep the smaller plant because it seemed like it was doing better. It wasn't as leggy. But if I could keep them both, since they came apart, I decided to go ahead and keep them both and just hope that they both make it. Now this was definitely messy, trying to do everything in its one place. Fortunately, I have a cover over my table. This is my dining room table. But I have like this plastic cover over it, so that makes it easier to keep things clean or for cleanup. That's a smaller basil, which looks much better. Of course, I dropped it, but it fared okay. But yeah, I'm gonna work on better camera angle situation. I forgot about my tools that I had set up to use. Those are really better for when planting seeds than when transplanting. I did not like doing this. I hope to avoid doing this. I don't know. I love the experience of being able to start growing early, but I don't like the up potting too often. Which is why I'm using these biodegradable pots, because then I could plant these directly where they're gonna be in the garden. So anyway, I moved them over here on this shelf by my patio door. I do have that covered right now because my mom, when she comes, she does not like what basically looks like a large window uncovered. And I covered the windows then, and I just haven't taken them down, but I will take them down because I want the sunlight coming in on these plants. That will hopefully help them get acclimated to being exposed to sunlight when I start trying to harden them off, moving them outdoors in the next 6 to 8 weeks. Anyways, I hope everyone's getting ready for spring right now too. Our last frost date is in the middle of March, so we have less than 2 months. So the clock is ticking, and before you know it, it'll be here. All right, y'all. Thanks for watching.